commanders. Farlig on Overpass is hit or miss for me. He sometimes comes through, he's fantastic, and he just destroys everyone. But on other maps where actually we saw him against Big in the group stage of this very tournament, Farlig was missing shots like nothing else. So which Farlig will show up, we'll have to wait to see. But for now, the same good old Crystal has come through with the utility.
Yep, a Molotov, a smoke, critically no flashes. So if it is going to be a bursting play, very interested to see where that smoke does land itself. Thinking about mowing some lawns, you get a POV of exactly that.
Oh, mowing lawns, mowing heads. Either one of those would be nice to have right now. Love the smell of some freshly cut grass. Love the sound of some quick little dinks. Crystal and company will be coming through very soon, though. Manek, in the meanwhile, is looking to maybe get a bit more aggressive. Yesterday, they didn't fare too well versus FaZe on their CT side, and obviously GODSENT a slightly similar team as far as international team, lots of firepower, all that good stuff.
And after waiting things out at the start of this pistol round, G2 didn't get aggressive, and I think that was the play that they hoped to counter. Instead, it's Martin that gets the action started. A kill quickly to the bathrooms. Amanek falls, so looking to reinforce this A side are likely to be GODSENT. Oh, next door opens the other direction, and Crystal falls. That's the utility gone, so it's not even deployed properly for this pistol. They have to fight equal in the exchanges, and they pressure Hunter off of A.
Hunter's backed off and he knows he's got the kid, so he needs to survive. Jax will fall, and now Hunter's holding a very difficult angle to get a shot on, and he will indeed not be able to. Flashbang will try to assist Kenny inside the side, and he's found one flick for more, but it's next out of connect. Kenny's still alive and safe, but Zen and Steeker will take down his teammates. Kenny, last to live, last to fall, and GODSENT will take away the round. And we've already seen, Michael, the startings of a GODSENT, which very heavily relies on connector control to play out their rounds. They love going for late round decisions, late round rotates, and Crystal can really be a beast with them.
Yeah, I think it's something we mentioned on broadcast yesterday, is that G2 love going for late round aggression. So there's actually a style conflict there that could lead to some fortunate or unfortunate timings, depending on which side of the coin you're on. For GODSENT, they could end up in spots where they maybe catch G2 on rotations, or the other way around. So these slimmer timings, I'm expecting to see a handful of them, especially on a map like Overpass, where rotations can be just a critical part of either winning or losing the round. I don't think the awkwardness we saw in the earlier game with FaZe, I don't think it stops here.
Well, awkward or not, GODSENT have to come through and try and close things out. G2 have gone for a more conservative buy over here. Just some deagles, no armor behind them, save for Nexa. But that's not to mitigate how deadly they can be. We've seen FaZe come through earlier on today with some fantastic rounds. Rain in particular comes to mind on Overpass connector, but now Armanek's nade could be massive. Well placed, but because of the boost, they're able to spot him out, take him down, move back, and avoid the nade damage.
Ooh. Decent damage on the nade there onto Farley. Kenny trying to ring off shots with the deagle, does get dinked down, so pressure is still being applied over at A, but they're backing themselves off. They've made their way through the connector and dealt with Nexa, who sat once again in front of the door. The 20 seconds left. They've got a player down towards water. If they deal with Jax quickly, that's the bomb plant secured, and there it is. It could have been an interesting scenario had Jax proven to be a bit more of a formidable opponent. Of course, he was low HP, so his chances were slim. The GODSENT ultimately keep 4 up. Hunter to try and get away with the deagle in hand, but knife out, Farlig, easy frag. 2-0 for GODSENT.
I will give some credit to G2 in that round, though. It felt like Nexa knew where they were going as he positioned himself right outside of connector. GODSENT go for the typical, hey, there's 20 seconds left on the map. We've got connector control. Let's just try and move back and through there. Nexa, unfortunately, is only good for 1 in that position. If he gets 2, if he's lucky enough to get 3, then yeah, completely different round. So now again, we'll see G2 putting up the deagles. And this is something which actually confuses me a lot about G2 and their decision to buy, which is that if you're not going to go for the full buy, as Kenny, yes, beautiful shot, although Crystal is just as good with the response. He's got a Tech 9, saving up some money for the next round. Always like to see that. But I'll actually hold the thought because Jax is holding Martin's head in his hands, taking it away as a trophy. And he is looking to keep hunting down 4 versus 3. And suddenly things have become a lot more difficult for the side of GODSENT as they have started to creep back towards B. G2 have full control over B short and connector.
Yeah, and that connector control that GODSENT have loved to go for, like you said, going to be absent in this round. You can see G2 going to clear it, committing 3 players into that position, and now the opportunity for a flank emerges. They double push through the connector. GODSENT are bypassing this. They're finding a timing. They're finding some space over towards B. The Molotov will indicate where the intended. Manex on the flank. There's a player on short as well. Farlig deals with that flanking player. There's a second one. They might not expect 2 to be in this spot, and the time is grinding away. Nexa, oh, he does get spotted, but he's not able to hit the shot on the Deeg. Hunter still uncleared, still unchecked, but they are present. They understand that that's a possibility, and the plant does go through. So 3-on-3 on the site, but it's planted in a position where Jax can punish Crystal.
They're expecting everyone to have come through from behind, but Jax has caught them off guard. Now, Stiko and Farlig are going forward. Farlig should be good for the backstab, in which case he is also going to have the bomb planted in his favor. There is no kit, so the movements have to be fast and swift. Jax has found one more before he goes down, though. And as Farlig takes face and takes fire, he will be forced into a position where he has to fight with his life. Deagle out, no time, and G2 Esports will be able to get a lot of damage in, but not the round itself. Brilliantly done from G2, but at the end of the day, just the lack of a kit will be what segregates them from the win. 3-0 to start things off from GODSENT.
Already getting to see some of these timings already.
Oh yeah, absolutely. One thing that I'd like to point out, though, I mean, other than the fact that if Next had just gotten that 1 kill, that would have been very different. Beautiful shot from Kenny. Is that what's interesting about how G2 buys is that in both the second and the third round, they just invest Deagles in both. And, you know, I was initially thinking, why don't they just buy Kevlar in the second round? Well, actually, I'm not sure about the stats on this, but I'm pretty confident in saying that your chances of winning aren't actually propped up as much by 5 pieces of Kevlar. Maybe 2 or 3 pieces of Kevlar would be enough so that if you can pick up a rifle, it's good. But in the process of buying just a deco in both rounds, G2 not only give themselves an AWP and a better buy in the 4th round going into it, they also give themselves a very good chance, which we saw almost being capitalized on.
Yeah, I think it also depends on the places you're going to position those pistols. If you're in commonly naded positions, obviously Kevlar will save you a lot of the hurt. If it's spammable, same story. But Kenny got his hands on the AWP into this first gun round, and he started things off well. It's a double up setup here for G2. Almanac still peering in for angles, opportunities over at A, but he's spotted nothing, and GODSENT are creeping closer.
He's seen him now, though. Almanac peeks out straight to the head of Zen. Zen has fallen. And it'll be Almanac looking for even more information. The jump spot can give you so much, but he's got to be careful that he doesn't just have his head swiped off mid-air. Martin waits for any further aggression from G2, but with 30 seconds on the clock and a double man advantage, G2 have gone back to incredibly default setups. Molotov will start to go over to force Almanac out into the open. Almanac will be trying to play around the smoke as a result, but Martin creeping through, taking charge, taking the lead, but Kenny's found the first. Kenny revealed by Martin's position, and Farley will find one. Martin, in the meanwhile, has been caught off. Almanac creeps through the smoke, and so far it's been him doing it all. Hunter will find Farley, and with that, G2 will grace the scoreboard with their presence.
Yeah, Almanac starting things off well with the AWP, keeping himself alive as well is the crucial point. GODSENT never able to track down this frag. And even weaseling his way through the smoke as well. Left Farlig in a terrible position. He had no time, no spots to plant, no real feasible way of getting that round under his belt. So a convincing start here for the G2 gun rounds. And Kenny aggressive with the ult in middle. Trying to get hunted down by Glocks, and Kenny pistol out. Yeah, he's got more. Could be an ace here for Kenny as Martin's approaching from the back, but that opportunity will be missed.
Kenny says, I want some of that action. He sees Amina come by his side, Michael. You know, kills now on the board for Kenny S. And okay, eco aces or not, that's going to be giving him a lot of confidence in this game.
Absolutely. I mean, even in the G2 game we saw yesterday where they played on Overpass, Kenny felt like he was missing. Not so much so that he was taking up duels and missing those fights. He just wasn't really taking those duels. They were constantly at economic disadvantages.
Yep.
We saw Armanek instead taking more aggressive stances with the AWP, but now that Kenny's online, this does not bode well for GODSENT.
Oh, absolutely not on their own map pick. Jax, though, he needs to find Stiko soon. Stiko inside the smoke. He does it so many times. Got himself another one. We've seen this story before, and Stiko is a master storyteller because every time he does it, it gets even better. 3 kills this time over and a nade to come in as well. Kenny's been heavily tagged, and he just can't find anything. Molotov will go over, but there is no one to be found. Kenny and Armanek will find a killer piece, just as I say that. Thank you for proving me wrong, guys. I appreciate that. And now are they actually going for the retake? This would be an interesting decision to say the least. Flashbang goes overhead. And of course they have to save. It's a double op. You can't retake.
Yeah, they're tempted into it because the money is healthy enough that they could still buy up AWPs. It would be a bit more of a strenuous buy. Especially after they punished GODSENT initially. You could see they really wanted to posture up for it, but not getting any more opportunities, and Zen could hunt them down as well after this bomb goes off.
Zen is expected, but not from that particular angle. Zen picks up the AWP as well. Doesn't go for the second kill. Kenny will be allowed to save his op, but man, what a play from Stiko. He is so good. Every time you see that smoke being thrown forward, you know Stiko's going to be playing around it. At this point, it's basically worth it just to try spraying in, just in case.
Yeah. And the compounding flashbangs as well, really enabling that third frag. Ooh, I like that Kenny's keeping this one at least in check. Making sure GODSENT don't pull off anything fancy with the AWP.
4 players on B early on from G2. That's interesting. Now, Kenny, if you find a levitating Stiko, I am going to be very upset with you. But he finds him when he falls down. Okay, the magic is over, Kenny says. Very well-timed smoke and Molotov combination means they can't come through. Hunter and Crystal are exchanging numbers and bullets, and Crystal will be the one to fall first. Now, a 3 versus 5 to ensue. B-short control is there from Modern, but he can't really proceed upwards from it. He knows there are 3 players zoned right into him. And the second he starts to face out to them, this will be troublesome, but they're not checking the angle. Modern could be healed. Modern peeks out, gets 1, gets 2, but Nexa has now interrupted him. Then forced to take over and finish off where he started. Now, he goes onwards. Hunter right behind the B pillar. Zen will be looking to peek out soon. Flashbangs have been completely avoided. Hunter's been avoided as well. Zen out in the open has been seen, but the AWP can't find him. Kenny instead trying to find the player with the bomb on his back who's left all the way behind. Zen, as he peeks out, will be found. Kenny will take him down. Farlig. 1 versus 2, both all still alive, but Kenny underneath him is the real risk. Kenny's even able to get a tag. How does he do it? Armanek to finish the round.
I didn't even realize that was Kenny who tagged him. I thought it was Armanek's AWP trying to cover. I thought that was just a missed opportunity to instantly get the trade or even save Kenny's life. But Kenny reacts so quickly.
It actually didn't even show up for us.
That's ridiculous.
Good old Kenny S.
That almost falls away from them, though. The chaos that Madden created. The door swung open just a bit for GODSENT. It comes down to a crucial 1v1 at the very end.
Fortunately for GODSENT, they still have enough money to give Modern an AK, and he's found Hunter. 1-for-1 trade, but with that ground being established and connected control there, that's a recoverable rifle. Of course, you kind of do have some recoverable... You kind of have the mini AKs in your hands anyway. Tech-9's a pretty good weapon. Last I heard, at least.
It's also so far away that it's difficult to retrieve.
It does get a bit more dicey, that is true. Armanek, in the meanwhile, does find Zen, though, and with that, Kenny and the secondary op are ready for the assailant that will be coming in. Armanek doesn't have any support from Kenny. Instead, he's waiting inside the smoke, pushes through, finds himself a no-scope and the bomb with it. Now, on his side is Crystal, who will take him down, but Kenny is still fighting away. How does he dare to repeat that? I will not know. it's back to a 2v2. Crystal, who doesn't have armor, has now picked up the AK, drops the AWP back to Martin, who's on low HP.
30 seconds to pull this one off, and they reconvene at long. Same site, different approach. This could make it a lot more difficult here for Nexa. He's only peering into short, waiting for his teammate to peer in from bank. As GODSENT begin their slow approach, and the shoulder. Just a glimpse caught of Nexa, and Jax wasn't in position. He was tempted towards B, and now Martin trying to pressure a one-on-one. As it was 2 players left for GODSENT, but Crystal's repositioned. He's got himself that headshot angle, the flower pot that he can hide behind.
And without armor, this is his only option. He peeks out first, doesn't let Jax get the initiative, and Jax is brought down. Crystal taking away with 2 kills to his name. GODSENT steal away around. They did not deserve it all. Armanek even making this big play, and I thought it was over, but Kenny just keeps re-peeking.
Yeah, he was spamming to try and help Armanek as well. But he gets caught bolting back the AWP, and he's still facing while he's unable to fire. He's confident. We'll give him that much. Cut him some slack.
There goes Chico again. Serves right pass, and in he goes. Kenny, though, is ready with the Deagle, still fighting away. Could look for more, as he will reface, but Zen and Stico have cut off his knees and his head. Armanek finds one, and that equalizes things, but still no recoverable rifles. And as I say, that Hunter himself has taken Stico's life, and Jax will fall. There's a kit very near the bombs. At least that won't be an issue for Hunter and Armanek, but Farlig and company are both backing off towards the A side. They're expecting there to be no resistance there, and they are correct in that assessment. As it turns out, as it turns out, rotations can't be made just from connector. You can actually go to a CT spawn as well as a T side.
Yeah, they know exactly where these 2 players were, both of them finding kills, so G2 have to rotate the long way around. Connector, long. That's where they'll take their faces. Farlig's deep spawn. So if they find that kill early on Zen, that could have fallen away, but now G2 have to rely on Armanek. A 1v2 at his hands, and Farlig still so concerned about the flank. Zen gonna get caught in transition. Armanek finding the first, knows and has an inkling of where it's gonna be on the side of Farlig, but jumping up, that's a difficult fight to win, and Farlig finds the kill at the end. Armanek jumps into his loving arms, and GODSENT take a 6th.
It was also never going to happen, unfortunately, because where I mentioned, hey, there's a kid right next to the bomb site.
They don't go that way.
They don't go that way. So it was always going to be a hard one, but it is even harder as they can't even take away the AWP from Farlig's hands. G2 will now be forced to save. And again, we're seeing so many rounds where G2 is able to start off nicely, but the follow-up from GODSENT in the mid-rounds is impeccable. How many times have we seen Martin and Stico inside some chaos find a few gaps, find a few places to work off of, and just make it happen?
It's the same way that you'd expect FaZe to leverage their individual talent. That has been a consistent reliance for GODSENT. See it in force buy rounds. We see it in crucial clutch moments. Even with Kenny starting off well, they limit him to just pistols and rifles, keep his hands away from that AWP if they can somehow prevent it. That would bode well. Of course, open B bomb site. They went for a gimmicky stack. They went for a push through middle. And Farlig's already honed in on the flank. So not going to be an opportunity that G2 should see too much from.
Can I just point out, I find it so funny because my phone's just been going off for a while now. I hadn't noticed because I have it on silent, obviously, while I'm casting. I just took a look at it very briefly, and I see Google's is giving me notifications. Oh, GODSENT versus G2 Esports, live score 4-2. I'm like, Google, come on, man. I'm literally casting the game. Cut me some slack.
Google knows a lot of stuff about you. Do they know about this part of your life?
Well, I'm sure they do by now. Armanek left alone, trying to find a couple of quick little blink headshots, but G2 Esports will have to run away with not really much damage delta either, and at this point you're getting closer and closer to damage doesn't matter territory. As GODSENT, one more good round like that, and you've got yourself economy for most of the rest of the half.
Yeah, while there's still a decent amount of reserves on a few players here for GODSENT, this is still a swing round because it will mean that they'll either have to save weapons over in this one or eco in the next. So some space can be created here for G2. Nade sails in, does less damage than you anticipate. Actually, none. I know they made a change to nades that made them more consistent, but
oh
still.
no. Oh, Kenny has beautiful angle to hold, and he's got himself a chance for 2, but he pulls out the smoke and he's been scouted. Now he faces forward. Zen's got a great nade, but Jax is the one with the second kill. Stiko to fall, Kenny to flick, Zen to ask, why did I do that?
Yep, third time's the charm. Missed a few too many shots, but when he was in a high pressure situation, does pull it out. 2-on-5, bomb nowhere near these two players, so they'd have to double back to pick that one up. You can see them now moving closer to it. Problem is that giving up the position that they've established towards bathrooms is a bit of a risk, and while Farleague is going to suffer at the hands of it, they didn't fully clear out that position. They only really had balloons. Martin, 1-on-5, 30 seconds, not seeming likely, not even going to go for the bomb. So trying to save this into the follow-up gun round.
Martin. Maybe he can get some damage as well. You've got to keep in mind G2's economy is pretty bad. So 1 or 2 kills might actually end up being more valuable than you might imagine. 10 seconds on the clock means that he's probably not going to go for them though. And with that, GODSENT, I mean, it all comes down to an early play off the back of a nade and Kenny just scoping in directly. Really nicely done from G2.
Oh, I wasn't sure if Jax was going to go all the way out through the ladder. He was creeping up bottom connector, and if he'd found him after time, that would have been catastrophic for GODSENT.
A second shot from Kenny was so crisp.
Yeah.
Even so. GODSENT will be going for not entirely a force spike. Crystal will still be able to drop an AWP later on if he wants it, but enough to put G2 at risk. Now, Kenny peeks forward initially. He's got himself a chance, and as they get very close, he's not going to realize it. Nade goes backward, and Almanek can't defend him in time. Farleague's already found the kill, and as Almanek trails backwards, GODSENT is barreling in towards the A site.
Yeah, Almanek will hear the steps, but he's called for backup. There's a secondary player there, and Hunter first to face, Almanek to follow. But Hunter's dropped. Stiko primed on the angle with the AWP, and he gets the kill he needs to. A bomb site very much exposed, but again, the bomb is dropped in a position where neither of these two players can comfortably pick that up and fall away. I think G2 will have a sight line on it though. Nexa committed to a close corner on that A site, and they are relying on the individuals here. They separate here on the CT side.
But Jax is pushed all the way through, so he's got a very good idea of what's going on. If he can come in on the flank and they take too long, GODSENT could end up kicking their own behinds because of it. Now, the other possibility is also, obviously, that GODSENT goes for the quick rotate back towards the other side, but with 40 seconds and Martin getting this close, I feel like it's not likely to happen. Martin is lining up the pre-fire. Shadow's visible, but AK is just better. Jax now left in a 1 versus 2. Flashbang and incendiary, yes, but he hasn't gone in from connector. Instead, he's trying to decide whether or not to just back off and save. And so far, I've got to say, Nex has been very quiet. Both himself and Hunter have been close to non-factors.
And they're usually the ones you look to be bigger factors. You say non-factor, they're typically at the top of the scoreboard, not middling towards the bottom.
I mean, so far, the charge has been led by the two AWPers, Kenny S and Almanek. Almanek in particular is what really surprises me. And this is where, you kind of start to remember this guy was insane back in Misfits. It was always Almanek and Devaduvek. Almanek was always the guy who was touted as being the next big prospect for French CS. And he came into G2. He's got one of the most supportive roles I have seen in modern day Counter-Strike. Every time G2 is going to be getting aggressive on most maps, Almanek is generally the one to assist, but on the Overpass, we've seen him unleashed, and he's been killing it, unfortunately. Can't say the same for the rest of his team.
Well, the critical thing for the buys for G2 have to revolve around the AWP. That's where they found the most success. talk about Kenny and Armanek. That one rifle of Jack's, I don't think it accomplishes too much. We'll have to wait and see. Zen does find one. Madden does cover his teammates as well. They take a lot of damage in those exchanges, and Jax shows where the AK is positioned. Top side of connector. He pressures them back. Now GODSENT have a lot of the map to traverse to decide which of these sites they end up on. They're still exploring. They're still investigating their opportunities.
For Jax, you have to say, just going for a save is probably the best possible option. What I personally really dislike, though, is Nexa goes for Deagle and Kevlar. Kenny goes for Deagle as well. Your loss bonus is really poor, and Jax will have to step up, but he turns around. He's been timing, maybe. He does actually manage to have his spidey senses kick him into shape, and he starts facing forward, but can't land the shot. Kenny, though, shoots for two and looks for more. Farley will finally shut him down. And Nexa's in a bit of a doable situation. Zen and Mata are both low enough that Nexa could maybe one-shot them away. But even so, it's not going to be easy.
Well, he's got time to play with at the very least. Late bomb plant here for GODSENT. Nexa is close enough. Making sure he doesn't get backstabbed. Making sure there's nothing tricksy in the post plant here for GODSENT. Obviously, odds stacked against him. No kit, no real weapon. We've seen some pretty exceptional stuff from Nexa in previous series, but still missing so far on Overpass. First headshot found and delivered. Zen decapitated, but no time available to make this a feasible round. More damage could be done to the GODSENT economy, but Nexa down to 2 HP. Oh, brings Farley low, and the bomb finishes him off. So damage accomplished. Madden, the sole survivor. Now G2 looking to buy.
Nexa needed that kill, though. He's on $4,300. That's not enough. Kenny, with these two, he justifies a Deagle purchase, and that's all you want. All you want from him is that he can get enough money to say, okay, I don't really mind having bought that. Nexa, though, you can't say the same for him. Now, one place where I'll credit him, he had some fantastic rounds yesterday with the Farmers, in particular on Nuke. He was untouchable with it. So he can work the rifle, that is without a doubt, but I'd still like to have seen him on M4 instead. Now, Armanek, what are you going to go for? No AWP available for him. Probably going to end up relying on utility instead. But so far, G2 haven't really been particularly impressive about that.
Yeah, I thought he would have opted for the FAMAS, just so he can get a Molotov as well. You can't really set up for a fast peek with the AWP without that swift little Molotov. You can deploy in the early stages of the round. And instead, they set their sights on connector, but immediately after the smoke, gone. Back towards the A side. Meanwhile, Farley's got a position on short that could be explosive. They're not really clearing or checking for it. I know they have Hunter attempting to hold this down, but the nade does tag him low.
Hunter's will back. The timing's perfect. Hunter will be caught out. Farley can even back if he wants to, but he wants to keep going. Gets a second. Jax will trade for two of his own, but he's brought down finally as Stiko comes in late into Monster Tunnel. Stiko's got himself the bomb, and he can get it planted as well. As the Molotov goes out, Kenny can't stick himself onto the CT side long enough. And it's a 2 versus 3. G2 will have to back off and save once again. They don't have a kit. Is there one on the side? It doesn't look like it. With that secondary smoke, there's no way you get this round out.
Yeah, that'll be the round. No money to afford up weapons into the next. The AWP has been a pivotal piece of the CT side, but it has been missing at times. In fact, they bypass it altogether. They hit B. Couldn't afford up that secondary, but that's also been positioned on the A-bomb site. So B will likely be the weakness that GODSENT attempt to exploit as we go further and further in. The few times we've seen Kenny over there, he's had varying success. And almost tempting the chance for GODSENT to get that out of his hands. This is what I meant about Farley's explosive play over towards B. Just the fact that they weren't really committed to double swinging at any point really for G2. They're just huddled up in a corner preparing for any sort of a monster play.
Yep. It's also been every single player except for Crystal and GODSENT who's had their moments in this series so far. Zen and Martin are putting up the numbers. Farlig as well doing the same. And Seeku's had some very high impact plays around Monster Tunnel, even if his numbers aren't as high. So You know, Godsent are here to play, and the problem is G2 Esports have still yet to figure out what game they're on. Maybe Jax with his XM inside connector could be good for one. 5 rounds isn't terrible for considering how they started off, but they need to get there first, and Kenny is leading the charge. Beautiful headshot, but Farlick is there to cover. And he has dropped the AWP. Next set to pick it up. Martin, in the meanwhile, to pick up the pace as Hunter will fall to his quick little burst. Jax around the corner, goes with the XM, finds a player with a grenade out in his hand. Suddenly a 2v3 that is doable, but not quite so easy when Crystal's on the other side. Waiting for the peak. Armanek will fall. GODSENT to 11, and that'll be it. We'll have to go to the second half to see if G2 can recover, because this looks touchy.
Device, the double Ds, like, well, no man can resist them, you could say, Vince.
True. Vitality have the suit or an Apex. I'm going to just try and steady the ship a little bit. They have them 2 players left, and just after a tactical timeout. Now, sure, in this round, they didn't really have much to play with. I think this is more of a detox kind of period and to talk about the next rifle round, which will be coming up in just a few moments, unless Masuda can somehow clutch this. I'm talking like the round's over, because I assumed it was a 1v4, but the bomb still needs to get planted. Masuda doesn't have Kevlar, doesn't have a kit, and I feel like he wants to save the AK more than likely. But we are getting into that very murky and sketchy water of saves not necessarily being good enough, Tom. Or you need to start converting rounds. You need to start playing a little bit more desperately. Masuda, unfortunate timing. Astralis 9-0, one of the fastest halves of Counter-Strike that I have witnessed in quite a while.
Yeah, I feel like this is like...
Kenny and Armanek with a fantastic performance, but unfortunately their teammates falling short. GODSENT, in the meanwhile, have got all guns roaring, all players kicking, all lines eating, and G2 is their meal.
Well, that is a graphic depiction. We'll see if we get some solid performances from them, a turnaround. Or whether GODSENT continues. Deco faces into the connector, and there's 4 T players on the other side. Easy lineup. Firing squad for G2 works out. Almanac making some presence at A, and he's found one better. Farlink, head offered up. Only for a second, but Almanac hits the timing shot required. Oh, GODSENT are looking worse for wear in this pistol. G2 look to collapse on the A site quickly.
And well, Crystal tries to move in, but Kenny on the other side has got Jax with him, and both of them proved to be a bit of a tough tag team duo to get past. Martin last one to fall, and interestingly enough, G2 keep 2 players alive with Kevlar, who, without being touched. Both Hunter and Jax will be able to upgrade for just $350. So it's a lot more effective at being able to pick up AKs. However, they'll still choose to go for 4 SMGs. And I think they might have made a bit of a bad read here because GODSENT like to go for their force buys.
Oh, that they do. We know that all too much. That's something that G2 may have not done their homework on. Kenny S, the only one with an AK. SMGs can still be effective against armor, but you really need to find a timing or an advantage early. Hope that they're not facing you because, again, these Deeks are oh so dangerous.
And every single one of the GODSENT players can come through with them as well. Even Crystal has his moments, and as Hunter's smoke goes out, Barley's gonna be locked forward. He peeks in, but there's no flash, and it's Stiko instead right behind with 2 quick kills. Even goes forward to pick up another little gun. That's a Mac 10, but does he expect to connect a player? Well, he might not, but Nexa's not looking to reveal his presence even now. 4v3, GODSENT. Their rotations, yeah, but their rotations are very fast on either side. So even, again, you've got the back to A, a minute on the clock, but if G2 thinks that is in their favor, they are wrong. Zen is right behind them. Kenny, though, is going to be leading the charge forward. Kenny finds himself a quick tap and a lot of damage on a Crystal. He'll be finished off, but Kenny will trade. Nexa now in a 1 versus 1. Only Zen to contend with, but Nexa, he's got himself time to go back towards the B-bomb site. Should he want to? But Zen's found the back. He can't find the head, though. Nexa has been brought down. The Deagles will win the round. And that, my friends, is why you get rifles.
That is exactly why GODSENT are so scary in the second round. And that's a perfect bait from Farlink. He dies so quickly to the SMG. He's the only one who didn't invest in armor, so he takes the first phase, and that builds enough room for Stiko to get the double on short. That's how it all falls apart. At least the startings of it there for G2. Well, they have to fight back on pistols. Actually, Jack's getting an AK.
Oh.
Oh, the double nade. Sailing in. Nexa didn't stand a chance.
Yeah, that's a bit of a rough one. And as it turns out, GODSENT are not just good at force buys, they're good at following up against those as well. That is one thing I will compliment them on, even though in this tournament it's been a little bit more touch and go, a little bit more sketchy. However, now G2 will start to lead the charge. Kenny right around the corner. He's going to find 2 players, gets the double spray as well, and he backs off soon after. Now, with the 4v3 established, they'd like to have a couple of Molotovs, and then the B site would be open for business, but all they have is a smoke on Hunter.
We'll see if that AK gets exchanged once more. We saw Jax give that over to Kenny to get those 2 kills, but he's low HP himself. Oh, Zen. There was a shadow that could have been spotted out. Almanac going to be gifted as a frag for Zen, and they accelerate. They try and collapse on the site. Hunter, there's the AK. Once again, it changed hands, and they find more impact off of it. But Stiko, weakened opponents on the other side. The 1 versus 2, very feasible, and there's the transfer. The adjustment made on the low HP of Jax. GODSENT dodged the bullet. It was close. G2 made that competitive, but still not a force buy that they will see success in.
2 beautiful shots come in from Hunter over there. I'm sure we'll see them in the replay as well. Look at that one and the second. It's gorgeous to see, but unfortunately for the side of G2, it hasn't come in early enough. And even when it does, it isn't able to translate into a round win. So they're back to Glocks and P250s. There's very little you can do over here if you are on the G2 Esports Squadron. Martin, though, will intercept them. 3 kills immediately with the MP9, and that'll be money in the bank. The CTs will start to load it up. Remember, the 1v1 from Stiko, as nice as it was, sorry, 1v2 rather, as nice as it was, does mean that your money is a little bit kicked in the unmentionables.
Other thing that's been kicked in unmentionables is the map
G2
control.
Esports? Oh, okay.
I like to dial it back into my common talking points. Stiko even holds a position where he can catch them rotating into the site. Did they go up long? And well, 3, 2, 1. There are feet. He spots them out. He doesn't land the shots, but that's at least information gathered, and Stiko can contest and deploy utility over towards B. There's still a decent amount of time here, and G2 not accelerating means that GODSENT will have that full rotation in.
Hunter leads one with the Deagle, but Zen's cut them both down. For a second, I thought Hunter might be able to find a timing, but unfortunately for him, it's just not happening. Now, does Kenny go for the glass cannon op? Wouldn't hate it, but he's been very good with the AK so far. So
Yeah.
there is that. He's sitting on 23 and 14, man. Armanex on 15. Now, Armanex was on 13 when Kenny was on 15. So I will say that he's not really been the brightest ray of hope for the past few rounds.
And that's the thing. You have to feel for Kenny. He's had a couple of off games. Overall, it's been a good tournament from him, but when he's not shown up, that's where you look at Hunter and Nexa as being more consistent, more established fraggers that you can rely on. And well, I'm just about to talk how Nexa's not had the most impact. He does get one to start off this round with the AK. He's tracked down by the SMG of Crystal. Oh, Crystal actually getting a second.
Man.
Jack's tagged down by the Molotov. That is so much more than he should have gotten from that spot.
That's huge. That is absolutely massive. Jax now, he has to contend with Farlig and his MP9. Remember, GODSENT, this is kind of like a bonus round for them. They've got a couple MP9s in. Farlig, unfortunately, is turned around with his. They'll end up losing it. Stiko, though, repositions. And as Hunter's pulled out his AK, he'll be fed a quick little kill. Zen left in a 1 versus 3. No real way for him to walk out of this unscathed, so he backs off and says that, you know what, I'll save my AK. We've got enough money to buy as long as I do. Martin's the only person who's got $0. G2 won't get their 6th.
That'll be a welcome sight for Martin. It's like, please, save me a little bit of money. Throw me a bone.
Yeah. I will say that Zen so far across the tournament has been a bit more questionable for GODSENT's side. Right now, he's all right, 15 and 12, not a terrible scoreline, but you're also winning pretty handedly. In other games, he has been liable to sometimes vanishing a bit more. Modern, though, has stepped up in so many different situations. It's great to see from him. Now, we wait. If not for this one small little timing play, it would have been very much a different round. And Stiko as well, losing the duel, isn't a pretty start to anything. So, GODSENT will have a buy. Will be lacking an AWP, if I'm not wrong. Farlig, you want to buy something? Yes, you do. Okay, go for the farmers. Only a single kit across the board that is in Stiko's possession.
And, ooh, they pick up the pace here on G2. The SMG finds Stiko to start. Armanek fast through short as well. There's nobody here. There's no reinforcements really for GODSENT, so they have to retake the site really early into the round. They do track down Armanek. They equalize the exchange, but Farlig, oh, there's nobody holding for short, so he gets away with the kill on the planter, and then that gap in the smoke works in his favor. Hunter, last alive. After the initial collapse, it looked good for G2, but it has fallen apart, and only with a MAC-10, Crystal will hunt him down. 15 for GODSENT.
That is an enormous mistake from Armanek. Pushing forward to rush through a smoke like that, even with a MAC-10, is incredibly questionable in Overpass, where you want to have the CTs be completely locked out of the site before you're going for the bomb plant. There's too many angles where the bomb can be denied from a common position, and Farlig shows us exactly what those are. Goes in, finds a kill, almost gets a second, and as the second man backs off, the communication in G2 isn't there for the bomb planter to face down shot, and Farlig goes down because of it.
Well, it is a scrappy buy for G2 to keep them in this map, and well, dicey duel for Martin, but he still comes out ahead.
Nexa needs to find this kill. Crystal's been very good with the MP9, and he continues to be just that. The 1-for-1 trade is not enough for GODSENT, for G2. Both teams starting with the G, always a bit confusing. But Hunter leads on, finds himself a couple of targets, but not any kills. Stiko's dropped down successfully, and Armanek's the one to finish off Zen. Stiko can't get one from water. And it all comes down to Farlig and Martin in a 2 versus 3, as they will back off to save.
Yeah, Martin's just so low HP that he doesn't want to have to fight into the site. It would be a difficult position to do so, especially with all the ground that G2 had taken on B. He could have been advanced, could have been in positions to catch them out on rotates. You can see GODSENT are really getting some distance between them and the site. But G2, they're hunting. They want to get these weapons out of hand because it could be a factor in the follow-up round. Armanek the closest for the hunt. Does he not check playground?
I'm not sure if maybe he's just trying to go for a flank around and go in with the long player just in case, because long player can just clear out toilets. What?
Oh.
Okay. I guess you're right. He just doesn't check playground. I mean, that's fine too. It's just a bit of an advantage that could have been gained lost. There's still a very difficult time for GODSENT to actually buy up. A $1,900 loss bonus is still very hard to work around. Let's be perfectly clear on that. Now, they will save. I'm always scared to call that with GODSENT, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you said that before the buy time had expired, and I was like, oh, are you so sure?
And I'm not, because Zen does also buy up a Deagle, so very good chance. Martin on the AUG. This is more of a scouting boost, but Zen's been tagged early, and with the triple boost now coming in, Martin gets a perfect timing, and Hunter's been brought down. Is this going to be how it all comes crumbling in? I might just be.
Well, boost for the first, they boost the second time to see if they can get anything more accomplished in short order, but they clear it out as a result of using that little bit of teamwork. Sights set on A. And GODSENT have begun their rotations towards this site. Again, another boost. They are really pulling them all out for this round. They want to take this one here and now.
And without flashes, Kenny's never going to expect this. Farlig's found it right here. And now they start to fight back. Martin sees the player on top of the dice, and Jax will be forced back by a flash. Armanek through the smoke finds Crystal's head, and Nexa on top of the dice makes it 2 big kills and looks for more as he swings out, but Farlig has come out on top of the duel. Farlig now waits for them, but he's peeked out in. Stiko with just a deagle, no AK, no armor, no utility. 28 seconds, he'll wait for them to creep in. Stiko, information gain. And let's not forget, Jax and Armanek are both quite low. So, very doable, especially with the AUG now picked up. Stiko could make it work, but the 2 bullets will not even matter. Jax to shut him down.
Yeah, I don't even know that he had the presence of mind that he had such limited ammunition, but it doesn't matter. I actually thought this boost would come out far too late. You saw 2 players in that position for so long, and they called for the triple boost to come out, but the secondary player was sort of fumbling his movement, jumping around in short order, but it actually worked out really well for GODSENT. The boosts almost net them the advantages that they need, but it's clawed back from the clutches of defeat by some crucial kills.
Max are really helping them get past that one.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hunter now will be leading the charge. The AWP falls and Farlig will go down. Hunter looking for more. Nade comes in and will chuck him down a little bit, but not too much.
Molotov being lined up for a bit of short pressure by Zen.
Oh no, it's for the boost. And just to make sure that you can boost up a little bit more safely. Hunter, though. Ooh. Hunter's been found out by a couple of nades here and there. There is still G2. We're all lining up some smokes straight for the A-bomb site. Now, the way they're positioned makes me think this might be an attempt for a fake, but Are you really going to be able to fake out GODSENT when Zen's found Hunter right there? Even drops the farmers for some reason. Not quite sure what that's all about, but Zen's waiting for his teammate to come into play as well. Zen will connect with another one. Just before AK picked up, and that MP9 distracts long enough for him to come in for the turn. Kenny, yes, is left alone 1 versus 4. GODSENT's been so good, but Kenny's even better. Fighting back, needs 2 more kills to clutch it out. But 20 seconds on the clock. And Kenny doesn't have the bomb. All he has is brute force. All he has is his wits and his gun. And both of those have left him 16-8. GODSENT will come through and persevere.
With such a big lead in those latter stages, you thought only a matter of time before